What's up, girl bosses? Today we are checking out the top 20 albums of 2022, and I'm really excited to get into this. Spent a very long time working on this list, refining the list, making sure that everything has its rightful place. So if you disagree with me, you got bad music taste. Hate to break it to you. There's no such thing as subjectivity or personal opinion. I am absolute. Sorry, bud. Let's get into it. Starting us off in the number 20 spot is Oh, What the Future Holds from Fit for an Autopsy. This is the follow-up to their 2019 album, The Sea of Tragic Beasts. And what's really great about this album, it's really kind of propelled their career forward. I found out the other day, Ice-T follows Fit for an Autopsy. He's a fan. I'm like, wow, you got Ice-T on your side? Shit, dude, that's crazy. But really do like this album. Far From Heaven, Two Towers, Pandora, great. But I feel like the best track on this album is probably The Man That I Was Not. It goes so hard. When I'm listening to this album overall, I'm hearing a lot of Gojira. I cannot unhear it. It feels like more deathcore Gojira. It's very strange. And overall, I feel like, for a lot of other people, this album has ranked higher on their list. But for me, it just wasn't as innovative as I felt The Sea of Tragic Beasts was, or as diverse as The Sea of Tragic Beasts was. Still a legendary album, a great follow-up to The Sea of Tragic Beasts, but personally I do like some songs off The Sea of Tragic Beasts a little bit better. Next up in the number 19 slot is Obsidian from Northlane. This is the follow-up to their legendary 2019 album Alien. This album takes a bit more of a different route with a lot more electronic sort of a little bit of dance elements too. It's very experimental, but I loved it. Very controversial for some people as a follow-up to Alien. But personally, I really do like the directions they took their sound, the risk they took. It's fantastic. This album, every single song on this album just brings something new, which I always respect. I love a diverse album, but they execute each song very well. So Clarity, Clockwork, Echo Chamber, kind of, Carbonized, Abomination, Plenty. Those are very heavy tracks on the album, which I really did like. But then other songs like Inamorata, which are like love songs. It's really strange. Or like Cypher, Is This a Test, taking more industrial routes. It's really cool, really diverse album, and I liked it a lot. Really great album from Northlane. I'm curious to see like how far are they going to take this sort of like cyberpunk metalcore sound. I'm curious. I'm curious how they're gonna follow this album up. In the number 18 spot is Color Decay from The Devil Wears Prada. Last year we heard the Zombie 2 EP from them, or last year, 2021. Which was my introduction to them. And I like them, but historically, I am a metalcore hater. So coming into this album, I was like, I've liked a few of the singles, they've gone pretty well. Let's see what they got. And they brought the heat. I'm a little bit less of a metalcore hater now, because they got some really fantastic songs that really encapsulate just a ton of raw emotion. And then also just like, from the core side, that kind of just like general brutality that you get from the genre in terms of heaviness. It's really fantastic stuff, and I was really blown away because I had like medium expectations going into this. Favorite tracks on this are probably Salt was really good, Watchtower, Sacrifice, oh my god, and Hallucinate. Hallucinate is probably number one in this album. But yeah, very surprising for me, and honestly I really did like it. I'm a little bit less of a hater now. Good on me. And actually, I would really recommend Devil Wears Prada fans throw some recommendations from their older discography, because I am really interested in checking more of their stuff out. Now for the number 17 spot is Parrhesia from Animals as Leaders. Now this is the first album cycle that I've listened to Animals as Leaders on, and I was blown away. And listening to their older discography, this is quite a change for them. What really caught my ears, this is Thal. This is super Thal, which like I didn't expect, coming from like a prog band. And historically, they haven't shown any Thal. This was a very big change for them to take that darker route acoustically. And wow, that worked. That worked so well. There's 9 tracks on this album. Relatively short, but every single track is a banger. 9 out of 9. Every single track just hits so hard. I love it. My favorite tracks for either Monomyth, maybe Red Miso. I remember Gestaltstrafall. That was... But it's the entire album. Fantastic. Gordian Knot too. Shout out Gordian Knot. If you haven't checked out this album, because maybe you're like, Animals as Leaders, they're your basic progressive metal band. Check it out. It's so heavy. It's so dark and just fantastic stuff. I really did appreciate the music videos they put out for this because they had fantastic choreography, really great dancing moves to a genre that's not entirely danceable. So I was pretty surprised by that, but really good stuff. Love the change in sound, because that was it's right up my alley as someone who really likes sort of like the darker, more atmospheric. The Thal, I love the Thal. It's a great album, and I feel like I rarely say that for instrumentals. It's an instrumental album, but it just works. It works so well. I love this album. It is so good. If you haven't checked it out for whatever reason, you now have no reason not to check it out. Go listen to it. Go check it out. Check it out. In the number 16 spot is Elegy from Shadow of Intent. Now this album, a little controversial, right? With this album, they've decided to take a more death metal route. That's right. No more wacky, goofy, breakdowns. No. This is straight up death metal. And we still get some cool like death metal style breakdowns, which is nice. Really do love this album. Love the build up for it. Great features like Phil Bozeman of Whitechapel, Chuck Billy of Testament. Love Testament. And overall, a pretty cool sound change, right? They're entering kind of like a new old territory. And I feel like death metal as a genre, you aren't hearing that many newer death metal bands. There is, of course, Vitriol, one of my favorite death metal bands. Who else? Venom Prison. They actually dropped an album this year. But overall, the genre has sort of declined. So it's cool to see one of the titans in the metal genre sort of enter that realm or refine their sound to fit that realm a little bit better. Really cool stuff. And honestly, Shadow of Intent is kind of like the perfect parallel to Lorna Shore. And hear me out. Because the orchestral programming, it's very similar, like the level of detail they put into it. And I really do appreciate that. I love how they orchestrate their songs. Speaking of which, we got 13 songs on this album. My number 1 track on this album, Elegy 3, Overcome. It hits so hard. Love that. But also Saurian King, The Coming Fire, which is not about, intensified genocide of fury, life of exile, where millions have come to die, blood in the sands of time. It's a very fantastic album. I feel like it really does a good job of storytelling, not just in terms of lyrics, because Ben has always been I said the line. That's hype. You have to like the video and subscribe now. You literally have to do that. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Anyways, so Ben, he's always great at his lyrics. I do appreciate that. But let's talk about the instrumental structure. It's not just really circular, right? Each song progresses to its natural conclusion. It's not just revisiting points, chorus, revisiting points, chorus, right? We got a lot of that. I think that's okay, but how much more of it do we need? I really have come to learn that I am a fan of very linear song structures, and we got quite a bit of that on this track, and I do appreciate it. I said do. Oh my god. In the number 15 spot is Liminal, Rite from Kardashev. Now Carda, you've heard that before. That's right. This is Mark, Cardavox Academy's band. And oh my god, he does a great job on it. And let me tell you, the whole band does a great job on it. The overall sound of this, they like to label themselves as death gaze, but I feel like it's more of like an atmospheric black metal. It's some really good stuff. It's a 10 out of 10 album. Every song hits, and the progression of it, like I said previously, I love very linear song structures. This is a very linear album. Each song flows very well into the next one, and each song itself, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Like super atmospheric, great uses of cleans and gutturals and lows and highs. And it's so good. I remember I checked this out on stream on a whim, because I was like, might as well. Let's see what this is about. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did not miss this album. So if at this point in time you have not heard this album yet, please go check it out. It's really a 10 out of 10 album. It's something really unique that they've done. I haven't heard it done by anyone else. Right? Novelty. That's huge. That is so huge. For me, favorite song is probably Compost Grave Song, like Lavender Calligraphy. Also rivals it very well. Silvered Shadows, Apparitions in Candlelight. Listen to those names. Very Opeth-like. I always appreciate that. I appreciate like the D&D core of like blackened music. It's great. But yeah, if you have not heard this album, please treat yourself and give it a listen. is fantastic. In the number 14 spot is Heroine from Thornhill. This is the follow-up to their album The Dark Pool, which is critically acclaimed. And fun fact, I actually haven't listened to it yet, despite all you guys telling me, hey, listen to the Dark Pool. Dark Pool is really good. So maybe I should, we should do a stream, a Dark Pool stream. That seems like a fun time. So going in the pocket. It's going in the pouch. So talking about Heroine, really do like this sort of like Deftones metalcore fusion. I know it's controversial for some people because a lot of people don't like moaning. I myself, I love moaning. It's just, I don't know, it shows a lot of emotion, especially combined with the very ethereal ambient sounds. It's just good. Some of my favorite tracks off of this album are Archangel, Casanova, Hollywood, and I'm missing it. Where is it? Raw. Love it raw, man. Really great album. Fantastic stuff. And I think it was great. I know it's controversial because of the Deftones score, but I've historically been a fan of Deftones. I love their 2019 album Ohms. I love their older stuff as always. It's a cool sound. I love seeing it integrated with Thornhill's like metalcore sound. It's cool. It's really cool stuff. In the number 13 spot is Ritual Hymns from Worm Shepherd. I know many of you love this album, and I do too. Love it. Devin is the homie. What I absolutely love, separate from his great vocal performance, are the instrumentals that carry from a bunch of different influences in black metal. I do feel like the future of black and deathcore is going to be the later subgenres of black metal, right? The Behemoths, the Cradle of Filth. I want to hear some of that stuff mixed with deathcore just because it'd be so novel, so new. No one is doing it quite yet. But I feel like that's the direction we're headed, and especially with the way Disembodied Tyrant is going. I feel like this album is a great step towards that direction of incorporating more of the black metal genre into deathcore. I think some really cool, really novel stuff can come out of that. Let's talk about this album a little bit more. I love everything on this. Ritual Hymns, Of Sword and Nail, The Raven's Keep, Chalice of Reverse, Blood Kingdom. Should I even go on? It's all just really great because each song very diverse and has that very novel sound that I'm very excited for other bands and even Worm Shepherd to continue expanding upon. It seems like they're now that Lorna Shore has kind of popped off, the clock's kind of ticking, right? Now everyone's on this chase for that great blackened deathcore fame. Ooh, it's the thing now. Which who would have ever expected that black metal would be the thing that like gets bands to pop off? Not me, but it's so hype. I'm big fan of black metal, and it's really nice to see it used with deathcore. It's just such a novel sound when you get all that atmosphere and even the symphonic elements and the many different elements just like combined with this more rhythmic elements. It's such a perfect blend, like milk to a cookie. In the number 12 spot is Behemoth's album Opus Contra Natvram, Work Against Nature. Now Behemoth, they've had quite a long career leading up to this, so there are a lot of expectations, and honestly when I first heard this album it didn't fully click with me. There were some great songs that immediately stood out, like The Deathless Sun, Off to War, Of My Herculean Exile, but listening to the album I was like, at first I don't know, but listening to it I kept returning to it. I couldn't stop returning to it. Of course The Deathless Sun is the number one track off this, but other tracks like Once Upon a Pale Horse, again Off to War, Neo Spartacus, Malaria Vulgata, it's just some really cool stuff. And of course their last track, Versus Christus, very Rammstein like, which I found very interesting. So sort of pull from that band as kind of an influence. I believe that Nurgle wanted that to be like their Stairway to Heaven. Fucking nerd. But it was a really great album, really adds to their discography, and I love it. I'm a Behemoth simp. Love all their stuff, even like some of their older stuff, like the Demonica demos that they released, I believe in 2004, From Horlands to Lindisfarne. That fucking slaps. So, you know, they've had a lot of change throughout the years, and it's cool to hear such a diverse album from them, despite having such a long career. I'm hopeful that they do put out another album because, what is it? Their last album, I Loved You at Your Darkest. There's a lot of potential to expand on there. I'm curious to see if they do incorporate some of that, some of the sounds we heard here. But in terms of Opus Contra Natvram, very diverse album, lots of different sounds, and it's just a good time. If you haven't heard this album, please check it out. And if I had to recommend one track from it, The Deathless Sun. That song hits so hard. It is so fantastic. The way it opens, just the symphonics on this whole album. It's just really great structure, and they aren't over the top because it's, you know, it's a black metal band. We're outside of the realm of core right now. So, you know, they take their time with things they build. They're experts at this point, having had such a long career like this, and it really does show in this album. I'm really glad that I kept returning to this and let the album grow on me. In the number 11 spot is Fear and Dagger from Paleface. Fantastic album. And let me tell you, MVP of this album is Zelly, of course. His vocal flow is immaculate. When he goes, I love that. I love that. It's so unique. It's just so much passion in his voice. He sings on this album too. My Grave, Lay With Me, super experimental track. It's great. We get 16 songs from them. They all slam. They all bring something a little bit different to the table. I just love it. I love it. Death Touch, nails it too. Dead Man's Diary, The Orphan, My Grave, Lay With Me, No Room Left in Hell. It's just a fantastic album. It hits so hard. And if you want to feel like you just want to beat an orphan, this is the album for you. I probably should retract that statement, honestly. I probably shouldn't say that. Now that we're at the halfway point, did you like the video? Did you subscribe? Because I'd appreciate it if you did. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing. I'm just saying. Got some social media down there, and we're getting back to the video now. Let's go. In the number 10 spot is Dedication of Flesh from Spite. Now, of course, this immediately follows Paleface because very similar just in terms of just that beatdown energy. But what gives Spite the lead ahead of Paleface is the diversity that this album brings. Each song is very unique from its previous one and following one. And there's some really cool elements that go into here just in terms of like that hardcore edge. Some black metal elements at times, like in The Most Ugly, which is really cool, because you don't really hear that often from like beatdown hardcore bands. Usually it's a fairly straightforward sound, but this album explores a lot of different elements. They vary, but they don't stray from the path. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, we do jokes here. But it's really cool to see that level of diversity while still staying faithful to the sub-genre, which is really nice. Of course, Darius Strong's voice, fantastic as always. Baby J's sweet baby drumming. That man works so hard. He works so hard. Gotta respect him. And just like the riffing, the mixing, it's a very clean, polished album that just, it's that beatdown vibe. You just want to hit something. Oh, yeah. Dedication of Flesh. Favorite songs have to be Hangman, self-titled Dedication of Flesh, The Most Ugly, Caved In. Whoa! In the number 9 spot is Scoring the End of the World from Motionless In White. And I know I said I was a metalcore hater, but apparently not, because Motionless In White, they do something else for me. Ever since I was introduced to them with their single Time Bomb, it's just, that song's one of the best songs I have ever heard across any genre. I love that song, and I cannot keep playing it. It's just stayed with me. But on this album, love songs like Meltdown, Porcelain, which really surprised me, because that's a very, like, it's all cleans, pretty raw emotionally, but that's where it gets me. There's some really nice progressions in that song, and I just love it. Slaughterhouse, of course, featuring Brian Garris of Knocked Loose. What a great song, probably the heaviest song on this album. There is also Cyberhex, which is great, and Scoring the End of the World featuring the legendary Mick Gordon. That song is, oh my god, it's a really diverse album too, that just does it all well. For a diverse album, they really master each element that they bring to it, and that's so difficult, but they're the pros. They are so good at music. Now in the number 8 spot is Chelsea Grin's Suffer in Hell. Now this is the first half of their double album. Suffer in Heaven drops in March of this year, so very excited for that. But let's talk about this album. Super heavy and super faithful to the sound they cultivated with Tom Barber on Eternal Nightmare. Really good stuff. But they advance it even more by doing something that I've been waiting for so long, and that is getting a symphonic black metal influence, and not just any. The way that they incorporate symphonic black metal is very similar to the way that Carrick Angren approaches black metal, and I haven't heard anything that sounds quite like Carrick Angren in deathcore ever before. So it is awesome to hear that in a band as legendary as Chelsea Grin. They accomplish it, and we get some really nice songs. I love The Origin of Sin, Forever Bloom, Deathbed Companion, Crystal Casket. Everyone loves Crystal Casket, but one of the most slept on ones I feel like is Flood Lungs, right? It slows down, right? It's kind of the pacer. It's the break, but there's a lot of like cool elements there in terms of ambience. It's really good. The Isness, of course, Morning Hymn has some just really classic black metal riffs just right in the intro and throughout the song. And then of course, Suffer in Hell, Suffer in Heaven, the closing track. It's really great. Love how faithful they are to the black metal sound and their own sound that they have cultivated. It's just like the perfect blend, and I think perfect for experimentation. Really good stuff. Excited to hear the second half of this album. In the number 7 spot, Oceanside, Alaska, Disparity. Love this album because I am a Chris Turner simp. He is my favorite drummer. Love just the way he approaches music. And if you can't get enough of his drumming, make sure you check out his 2022 album Steezy. That was his own solo project. It was really cool to hear. But let's talk about Oceanside, Alaska. This album is only their 3rd studio album, and it's really cool because it comes with the return of their original vocalist James, and he is a talented guy. Love his singing voice, love his screaming voice. It's great stuff. And this album, this is probably some of the heaviest metalcore I've heard this year. I don't think any other bands come even close, especially given what we hear on Plague Speech, Dead Behind the Eyes, Soul, Metamorph, Nova, Paradigm. It's the whole album. It's so heavy, so unique. It's just US tour when? I need to see these guys live. It's such a good album, absolutely deserving its spot in the top 10. Can't wait for the 4th studio album, man. This is some great stuff. I just love Chris Turner's work. Anything that he touches it's gold. He's got that Midas touch for drums. It's gorgeous stuff on this album. Really love it. Lots of diversity, super unique. In the number 6 spot, Within Destruction's album Lotus. This is the follow-up to their 2020 album Yokai, which was, whoa, what an album that was. And this album is a fantastic follow-up to it. Of course, they haven't been quite so slamming since Deathwish, but they do got some breeze on this, which I appreciate, in Neo Yakuza and Pop, which I believe stands for Pile of Poop. I don't even think I'm joking. That's what Rock said on his Instagram. Maybe he's messing around, but maybe he's for real. Maybe that's actually what that song stands for. But this song's really cool because it takes a lot of influence from new metal. More specifically, I'd say more of like the Linkin Park type side of things, just in terms of like the way the cleans are performed. Obviously, it's no giving up, but there's some really great cleans that really just match the energy of the songs. My most hated thing in metalcore, or when cleans are used in metal, was that the cleans just don't match the vibe. They feel forced, and it just feels like two separate songs. There's too much contrast. Here, it was such a seamless integration of the cleans in the songs. Layered cleans, layered with screams on their own. No matter what form they came in, they were executed perfectly. Like on Toxic, like on Nightmare, like on Scars, I believe. Really good stuff. Love Rock's vocals. Love Luke's drumming, and I absolutely love Howie's guitar work. It's They brought the heat with this one. This was a really great follow-up to Yokai, and adds a lot to their discography in terms of diversity, right? Especially going from like slamming brutal deathcore to that sort of modern hybrid deathcore sound that they cultivated, and now getting this sort of like new metal deathcore sound, and sort of stacking it on top of what their career has taught them to this point. It's some really cool stuff, super unique, and this is an album that I can't help myself from returning to. I just keep going back to it. I love Dying World featuring Lil Lotus, Dehumanized, Neo Yakuza, Pop, Toxic, Nightmare, Survival, Scars. The whole album is just pristine, and stays faithful to the sound they've cultivated. In the number 5 spot, we have Tekkno from Electric Callboy. Love this album. The Germans, they're up to something, and historically, that's pretty bad. But in the modern context, especially in the music scene, it has been fantastic. In 2021, we heard We Buttered the Bread with Butter's album, Das Album, The Album, and it was, wow, what an album. That is a legendary album right there. And in the similar vein, Electric Callboy, they cultivate a similar sound where they're mixing those sort of like German electronic influences with the cores. Really great stuff. We got the moves. There's a very black metal breakdown on there. Pump It. That's a really heavy song. I'm skipping Fuckboy. I did not like that track. But Spaceman, ooh, 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 ooh. Great. Mind Reader, Arrow of Love. And it's not just about those heavy moments. Like in Mind Reader, the choruses, like, there's a lot of passion behind them, even though at times they have very goofy lyrics, very goofy music videos. They have the music to really back it. Tekkno Train, the choo 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 breakdown goes so hard. Huracan, the Schlager to black metal. Who would have ever expected that? But they execute it flawlessly. It's really impressive stuff. They're not just a meme band. They have a lot of talent, and this album really showcases it very, very well. I'm excited to see what they do next because, you know, they're blowing up. It's like them and Lorna Shore are like, they're kind of at the top of the game right now, along with Spirit Box. I'm really curious where, well, I guess all three of those bands go. But Electric Callboy, especially just because they have so many influences that they just pull from and just throw together to make some of the most unique songs of the modern era. It's really cool. I do like what's been coming out of Germany lately, especially in this specific type of metalcore scene. It's some really good stuff. Number 4, The Generation of Danger from Tallah. Now I've known about Justin for a while. He's done content for years, and it's really cool to hear him showcase the full range of his voice, because this album is unrelenting. It is brutal. He's hitting the Elmo noises. He's hitting the moans like on Hard Reset. He's hitting like the whistle tones, the lows, the highs. He's hitting it all. Fantastic. Great drumming from Max Portnoy. Great riffing. I do love the idea of a concept album. The concept album, it's starting to, you know, within metal where you can't really understand the lyrics, it's tough. But I do like how they've been putting out content that kind of explains the concept of the album to sort of supplement the album itself. It's really cool. They're passionate about the stories they write, and this is like one of the most vicious bands of the modern era. And it's really cool because they really blend, you know, a lot of bands, they really try to take from the Korn sound. I've heard that a few times. Slipknot less so, but Tallah really pulls like from everything in the new metal genre. It's really cool. Predominantly a lot of Slipknot, a lot of Korn, mostly like fourth album All Hope Is Gone era Slipknot, but there are even times on this, like in Wendred, they hit the mushroom head sound. I was like, whoa. It's really, really diverse, really cool, and it's a nice sort of callback to to another genre that I feel like, you know, I started to die down a little, right? New metal's like, it's kind of on its way out, especially with the late performance from Slipknot and Korn on the albums they released this year. Yikes. But here, towards the end of the year, Tallah, they start the revival. This was some really, really fantastic stuff, really cool stuff. Great hearing it blended with the core subgenres, and I'm really excited to see where their career takes them. Before this, we heard Metriphagy, and ooh. Right, this is their 2 releases in now, and I feel like there's a lot of potential with these guys, and it's just so cool to see the genre blend they bring and like their own novel spin on it. It's like, of course, they have that Slipknot influence, they have that Korn influence, that new metal influence, but it doesn't mean they just sound like those bands, because otherwise you just listen to those bands. Every other band that has tried to rip off an older sound, they usually flop, because people are just like, well, why wouldn't I just listen to the band that's been doing it for longer and cultivated that sound, the band that knows that sound? Tallah, they put their own spin on it, they make it theirs in such a novel way where it feels like something completely separate from Slipknot, but then you have those moments where, oh, that's a little Slipknot, or you have those moments where, oh, that's a little Korn, a little Mushroom Head. Really, really cool stuff. Very excited to see where their future takes them. Top 3, baby. Angelmaker's album Sanctum. Love this band. This is one of the bands that actually got me into deathcore, period. Right? These guys plus Distant. Very, very important for getting me into the genre. I came across their self-titled album back in like, I think 2019, and immediately hooked. And hearing this follow-up was fantastic. Very, very good stuff. The opener, Slaughter, just it just gets you moving. This is like peak deathcore because it is just pure groove, man. The way they approach music is fantastic. Some other classics on this are Creator's Conscience, Eating the Body of God, Effulgence, Vengeance. I'm just going in order. Gutless. The breakdown to Gutless is batshit. It is so heavy, especially the vocal flow going on over during that breakdown. That is one, like, must check out that song. Great Gray Flame, great chorus, great balance of ambience and riffing. It's great. What I would give a super passionate, heartfelt song about loss. It is fantastic. Oppressive Control, Lazarus, The Wait, Wither, Bloom, Exit Signs. It's all good. It's all good. This is such a good album. A great follow-up to their self-titled. And each track, very Angelmaker, but very diverse. I do love the two vocalist wombo combo. Casey and Mike, they are a force to be reckoned with. Especially Mike's highs. Mike's highs are so insane. He's just casually just like whistle tone. He's getting up there. He's getting really up there with his fries. It is so crazy to hear his vocals. And then you have two of them. It's like, what are lungs? You don't need them anymore because you got four between the two of you. It's so crazy. It is so good. If you missed this album, please check it out because it's an album that just gets you going. Been a big fan of these guys for a while. Was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to sit down and chat with a few of them at the Lorna Shore headliner. They're great people and they made a great album. Love, love, love this shit, man. Number 2 for EPs of the year. Number 2 for albums of the year. That's right. This is Darko's album, Oni. And Baby J, he wins Musician of the Year, let me tell you. Because he dropped 2 albums plus an EP this year. Crazy. We got Darko twice plus Spite. That's crazy. He's such a hard worker, and I really respect that work ethic. Especially because not only does he put out quantity, he puts out quality. He's created a new genre with the type of riffing that he does. It's really, really cool, really unique, and it's really setting the stage for what I believe a lot of bands are going to try for in the future. It's just super groovy. It's that drummer advantage. The drummer approach to guitars, it's like, you don't normally expect that. You don't normally get that because it takes like a lifetime to master drums anyways, but to pick up the guitar and learn that too. I know Baby J, historically, he's like, always like, he's not new to the guitar, of course, and he's been doing it for a bit, but like his training, his expertise is historically as a drummer, and seeing him apply those types of rhythms to guitar work, it's so cool, so unique. No one else does it. Because like, how many drummers to guitarists do you know? Like who? It's like just Baby J, and he does such a phenomenal job at it. Tom Barber's voice, of course, always fantastic as ever. He couldn't have picked a better person to work with. It is such a power couple, honestly. Slice Sisters, because what Tom brings to the Darko duo is different from what he brings to Chelsea Grin. He takes a very different stylistic approach, so it's really cool. You're not just hearing Chelsea Grin vocals twice, you're hearing something different from Tom, so it's also a different way for Tom to express himself. It's just some cool stuff, really cool stuff. Favorite songs on this, probably Looking Glass, Hyperkill, Dragon Chaser. That was the first single we heard. Rosaria's Fingers, Kyle Anderson, Infinite Beauty, Evolving. Ooh, shout out Shaolin G, because he slayed. It's that Darko shit, as he says. Great stuff. Return the Gift of Breath. Gauntz, Oni, Anna. Anna might be my favorite song on this list, featuring Taylor Barber. He's the guy. It's such a good song. It's got the groove, it's got the rhythm, it's got the synths, it's got it all. Potentially my favorite track from the album. There's also Sanskrit, Acid Inject, Come Home featuring Roy Rodriguez. What's really cool about this album, it's got like the really cool heavy rhythm sections, and then at times getting kind of like a more like synthwave, sort of like more feelsy ambient vibe, like what we experienced with Come Home. They're very, very cool tracks, very diverse tracks, and no one else sounds like them, so they're diverse within the album and outside of the album compared to the rest of the scene. This is like revolutionary stuff. Really, really great work from the Darko crew, and I'm excited to see what comes next, probably in like 2 months, because how do they keep putting out so much? Last year, or 2021, they dropped the self-titled. This year, it's Oni, plus Deathmask Part 2. It's, when does it end? When does it end? The number one is, of course, Pain Remains from Lorna Shore. I'm not going to be contrarian and remove it from the list or whatever just because it's trendy to hate on. It's a good album. It's a great album. Super unique. No one else sounds like this. Everyone's going to try, but who can get like a whole orchestral composition and do a different one 10 times? Like no one. It's really great stuff. Shout out Andrew for that stuff, by the way, because it's super, super unique. A lot of people like to be very hand wave about it. It's like, oh, it's all the same. It's orchestrals and then black metal. It's like you're very hand wavy about the orchestral part because they're very ornate. They're very intricate. It's fantastic stuff. And the way it's integrated with black metal riffing, which Adam's mentioned, is very Dark Funeral inspired. It's so cool. It's so novel. No one else sounds like this. Everyone wants to sound like this. Lorna Shore 100% deserves the attention they've been getting. I do love this album. Favorite track, of course, You might say it with me. Welcome back, O Sleeping Dreamer. Holy shit. That song goes so hard. Just it's the first thing you hear on this album, and it really sets the tone. I just love like the build up into it, and then it just starts off with a breakdown. One of the best breakdowns I've heard this year, by the way. Just it just gets you going right off the bat. Fantastic vocals from Will. It's great to see him get attention, and honestly, the whole band. Shout out Moke. He's based. That was a joke because he plays the bass. Slap that thing. Austin's drumming, of course, solid as always. He's got the groove. He's got the moves. He broke his back for this band. He broke this back for you. So show him some love. Show them all some love because it's a really fantastic album. Love, welcome back, A Sleeping Dreamer, Into the Earth, Sun / Eater, Curse to Die, super unique. Really like that. Soulless Existence, Apotheosis, Wrath. Wrath was really cool. I like that. That felt a little funerary. And out of the Pain Remains trilogy, my favorite one is Dancing Like Flames. There's a lot of different vibes. We got a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of sorrow. It's just really, really awesome stuff, especially with, like, again, the complexity of the orchestral elements, those programmed orchestras. It's so unique. It's so cool. The level of detail they put into that. It's a whole other facet of the band, and blending it with, like I said previously in this video, those sort of early generations of black metal. It's cool. It's really, really cool, because not only are we bringing black metal to deathcore, we're bringing a lot of like symphonics to deathcore. It's like the triple fusion, and I don't think enough people acknowledge that and just how awesome that is. Really, really cool stuff. Love the mixes, just because it's not just like following norms. They're doing what it takes to make the song sound as best as possible. And at times, maybe it sacrifices an element or a few elements to really make the star element of a certain section shine, but it makes the section shine. Really, really cool stuff from Josh Schroeder mixing wise, because, you know, it's not a conventional mix, especially when you have all these layers and you have to find a way to make them all work. They did that. It's really, really cool, and they absolutely deserve all the attention, all the love they're getting. Make sure you show them some love. Make sure you show them some love. All right, fellas, that's my list. Please comment down below what you thought of it, and of course what your own personal list of the year 2022 are for the best albums. I'm really curious to see what you guys listen to. There was a lot of music that came out. I, of course, didn't get to all of it. I tried my best towards the end, but there's definitely a few things I missed, so it'd be really great for recommendations to drop your own personal lists of the best albums of 2022. Really curious to hear what you guys liked in the year. And of course, as always, if you like the video, really appreciate if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. It's free, helps me out a ton, helps you find new music. You know the spiel. I say it every video. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. 22 was a great year for me because of you. Because of you. I appreciate you guys. Expect Sunscourge very soon. Whoa. Oh my God, he said it. Wow.